all that. Somehow, in some way, remember, at the helm of administration in a country, the seat of the president is two-way. It's a governance and political seat. It's acquired politically.
Correct.
And therefore, the president must be able to take care of political interest.
Yeah.
The president must be able to reason politically to solve a political problem.
I agree.
And that's why the president had to look out and feel, okay, fine, who can we actually have a conversation with? And true to say, Raila has a whole battalion of people who are his followers. Yeah? And so when Raila comes on table, there is a section of people who feel represented. That is the reality of our politics.
Yeah, he's a leader.
Yeah? The reality of our politics is that when Raila is there, we have people who feel represented. And that's what the president did. So that, yes, we have the Gen Zs, fine. They have said they're not coming to the table. But can I reach out to this other one to see whether he can actually come to the table, and can we be able to have a conversation? And the country was moving towards a brink of collapse.
So let me ask you, now that he's in some sort of alliance with Raila,
yeah,
I don't know whether that's going to be a coalition officially, are we saying that it's technically sorted out all the issues that were facing the country?
No.
It's a short-term strategy.
It is
from the president's perspective.
That's why I said it's a political solution.
Yeah,
it does not
short-term political solution.
It's not a solution that solves every problem.
Right.
But we have to agree that problem, first of all, calmed down the country.
Yeah.
The protests were able to calm down.
Yeah.
We're able to see the magnitude calm down, because at the end of the day, you need, first of all, to reason to solve the political turmoil, then now struggle to now also address the issues as were raised. So I agree that it is not that because of the Raila coming into government now everything is solved. No.
Yeah. But
was something achieved? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Momentarily,
it's a wait and see game plan. Now it's about what then happens going forward, because there are things I don't agree with.
Okay.
For instance, I don't agree with the rampant homecomings. I don't agree with them. I feel like they are part of public annoyance, because when people have come from what we came from, we would be more importantly focusing on the duty and the work. Would be more now, we would be competing. These ministers would be competing in terms of who is delivering more than the other. And not necessarily us starting to move around the country.
Kennedy,
in the name of...
Let me ask you, still on Raila Odinga, yeah? He's done it all for our country, especially when it comes to, our democratic ideals. Kenya is positioned in a very important place in Africa, even world politics. We're technically on the map, But right now, you look at this version of Raila, and anatupatia mixed signals. You're telling us, who is the one who told you to reach out to Ruto? Mara, Ruto is the one who reached out to you. Mara, you're not in Gava. Mara, You know what I mean, yeah? I mean, what's going on with Raila's brand of politics, man? To me, it doesn't have sanity in it. I don't know what he's up to, man. Is he in opposition? Is he part of government? I mean, what's going on?
Raila, the contract between the people and Raila has always been a political contract. And Raila could not justify the contract in any other way apart from the political dimension. So, when Raila, actually, I would respond by asking a question. What is wrong with Kenyans? Raila goes to the ballot. For him to be elected the president, they reject him. Raila, they elect someone who competes against Raila. Then Raila later decides to join this person. They say Raila has betrayed them. And then, Raila is a product of the people's choice. They choose to reject him at the ballot. He joins the people they loved. Then they call him a traitor. It becomes very difficult. I'm just trying to be very liberal. By the way, I may appear on a show and give varying opinions because mine is not to take a side, but to explain to people what I think actually is out there. Yeah. So, I think advice has told you that the primary objective of forming a political party is to take over power and form government.
Yeah.
No one wants to be in opposition.
Yeah.
Especially if you know better that there is changes you want to ground and you can only make it from inside. For example, take an example of an egg. When you eat an egg from outside, life is lost. When the force comes from within, life is given.
a new breath is given, a cheek is arched. So Raila has mastered the art and known that he has constantly been eating the egg from outside. And true to the fact, we've been losing it. Lives have been lost. So he has decided to join inside and eat from inside. All we have to do at this particular point in time is to wait and see what is it. Is it going to be a positive deviation or a negative deviation? But again, as a believer, I first voted in 2017 as a young person, and I was so mad about supporting Raila. And in 2022, I happened to be on the other side. But again, I voted Raila. We expected Raila to always remain on the people's side. But you ask yourself, who are these people? Have they been on Raila's side? So there is no trophy in being violent.
That's interesting.
There is no trophy in being the loudest noise maker.
Yeah.
There is trophy in making a significant achievement. You can only, government is structured and governance is structured, and that's why we missed it as Gen Zs. We overlooked and undermined the elements of structure. And that's why the politics in this country and Africa generally is structured alongside political parties. So when the opportunity came ripe, it would only fall in the right hands of political parties. Which formation was favored most by the prevailing circumstances? It was Raila's faction, because he leads people, he had a structure, he had a force, he was the best person. But again, whatever it is that we were agitating for were more of an economic agitation. The only problem we have as a country is trying to solve economic challenges using political formulas and solutions. It will never long last. It is temporary reprieve for the president, because I know in a month or 3 or so, in fact, the exit of Raila will be the ticking time bomb for President William Ruto.
What do you mean?
There will be no one to call people and tell them,
I don't believe that.
Kisumu.
I don't believe that. That's personality politics. Get the smart Kenyans out here. Unaona you're thinking yako. That's what we don't want as young Kenyans. Raila is the only solution. Actually, I thought, Raila, the only reason young guys were mad at him is because the opposition, in fact, not even mad at him per se, mad at this whole handshake thing. Because we never always have a functional opposition.
I just wanted to...
You know what I mean? Yeah?
I was asking something.
Yeah.
That... what was the solutions? As Gen Zs, I'm a Gen Z, and I'm not talking as a compromised character. If there is someone who is going to remain loyal to his cause, actually these demonstrations got me doing the Lord's work. I'm the person who started opposing William Ruto the moment he took over as the President of the Republic. I will do so until the right things are done. What were the possible options as of then? Maintaining the status quo, where young people were being kidnapped, killed, and dumped elsewhere, having a system where we cannot, nothing is moving forward, and then refusing to have a one-on-one. The reasons why young people refuse to have a dialogue with President William Ruto is very simple. I would tell you, Dennis Itumbi is the one who runs these events. I have been in those events before. You as Kev will not get the mic to ask that reasonable question you want to ask. Itumbi will always work with some bandwagon of stooges, place them strategically and mark them. So you will always lift your hand thinking you are going to get the mic. The guys will always have it, and you hear what they're asking the president. They are more of conforming. So I think the young people, the culture in politics without integrity drove them to a point of lack of confidence in this particular arrangement. So they had to choose to stand firm. But again, the other gentleman was a heavyweight. He was a tsunami. He came, he just shake the waters in a little bit position, and every boat was almost capsizing.
So hold it right there. Let me
I don't blame him.
I want to bounce off what, of course, Kennedy has just said. The young people, Raila, how he built his brand is off of, I want to pick near social justice. Many young Kenyans across generations for decades have always been riding with Raila, saying, Raila is the one who's going to take us to Canaan, all these other things, I'm curious, do you think moving forward, Raila has actually lost that constituency?
The consequence is what would matter, because we have created a culture of glorifying Raila but he doesn't win elections. So we always make it look like he has this huge constituency, but then we get the vote, I don't know where the vote goes. So for me, it is about, and this is why I would not say he has lost the constituency is this. It's not the first time Raila has behaved like this.
Like how?
Raila joined KANU.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He even became Secretary General
I remember,
of KANU. But when Raila moved out of KANU, his support base was out there waiting for him. Then
Yes, I miss that.
Raila Odinga came and again joined hands with the Kibaki government. He became Prime Minister. He was part and parcel of government. When he got mad and stepped out, he led a no campaign to the Constitution, and his support base was again outside there waiting to vote with him. The same Raila Odinga went and worked with President Uhuru Kenyatta. And we again overinterpreted it and said he has again lost his support base. He did the BBI. And again, his supporters have always been there. Now today, we are again in the same scenario, where Raila Odinga is now joining hands with President William Ruto. I can be able to assure you that Raila's supporter will still be outside there, waiting for Raila Odinga. What we need to ask ourselves is, and I liked what you said about personality politics. If we want to cause change in this country, we must be able to ask ourselves more questions than we ask the leaders. We as young people especially, we must be able to ask ourselves which direction do we want to go. Me and Sankara were in the campaign team of the presidential campaign in the last election on opposite sides. And we did a lot of work moving across this country to really push young people to be part and parcel of the decision-making process. We did that. We even did a peace campaign and moved across almost 20-something counties to just try to ensure that young people are conversant and they can really come out. In the last election, only 34% of the voters who came out were actually young people.
There's 32.
It's very small.
So with that low number, the question is more to us than to the other people. Because we as young people cannot create a culture where we have always to look for someone to blame.
Correct.
And that is a culture we have slowly built. We just didn't come out to vote, but we want to blame someone. There must be someone to be blamed. Now, we came out and led a protest, very good, agitated for the right things. Yeah? But when we lost it somewhere, again, we must always look for someone to blame. There is always one person that is always right according to us, and that person is us. And the rest of the world is wrong. I think it's a mentality that we have to start sitting back and starting to ask ourselves, are we really right?
But I wanna, damn, I like that. That sounds like a powerful speech. But you saw what Matara was doing. Now, this is the reason most young guys are mad at politicians. From the national level down to counties, launching non-existent projects with the heavy facilitation, you know what I mean? So these are the people young guys are mad at. You know, you can't promise us Ati Barabara 25 kilometers, and then that thing just looks like a graveyard, bro. Just that car. How do you call that thing? That car sign, whatever.
And
you know what I mean? Those are the things, and that's why Morara right now is gaining traction. He's actually putting all these things out there for Kenyans to see and saying, you know what, you can't trust politicians. That's why young guys are pissed, bro.
Kev, I do not disagree with that. And I have to also put a caveat that two of Morara's projects were actually disqualified by Hussein. And another one, I think, by the other person who works for government. So the problem is, I have no problem with what my brother Morara is doing.
And he's not just the only one.
But the issue is this. We must move from, we love, emotional conversations are very nice and very sweet.
I mean, if you see these things,
Now,
won't you be emotional too?
It's true. But
it should invoke some
you know what I
emotion.
mean, Ken?
Yeah,
Ken,
it should invoke
the
emotions.
difference between, I think, me and the other average young person is, I fail to agree that the hand must always point at the other person. I fail to agree that we can now sit back and look at this project and get so shocked that look at what these people are doing. My question becomes, which people and how did they get there?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I want to insist
That's a good one.
that we must be able to point more fingers at ourselves than the other people. Because we are saying, look at what these leaders have done. These leaders did not drop from Mars.
That's a good
These
one.
parliamentarians that we are bashing did not drop from Mars. These people are there because we voted for them. And that's why when everyone was saying Ruto must go, I kept saying, go where? Because he didn't come. He was put there. He was voted there. All parliamentarians that we have were voted there. Our members of county assembly, our governors. And I can assure
That's
you, Kev, forget even this, the Morara exposés. If you had a look at what happens at county government, you'll be shocked.
Yeah, man.
Forget these issues of I've always said national government is not the real problem. County governments, we have governors who have, we are here complaining about ministers who have 2 advisors. We have governors who have 9. My governor has an advice on border affairs.
Nah.
Yeah?
That's hilarious.
So, we must be able to look at what
And
I'm
he bought
disagreeing.
flowers at 23 million.
25.
25
You
million.
are rigging the two.
Yeah?
So the thing is,
Yeah.
we must be able to stop learning the culture of just pointing a finger
I
and
agree.
everyone else is wrong except us.
I agree.
Everyone else is. We must be able to ask ourselves the fundamental questions, and we must start by, how do we get here? We get here because there is a process. We have an election. We choose these leaders. So we can't always behave like, we have a culture in Kenya where I think it has started, the last 3-4 elections, where after every election, Kenyans behave like they don't know who gave them the leaders they have. We sit back and get shocked.
Let me that's
Like we just dropped
that's a
from Mars.
brilliant point you've made by there. But I want to ask you something, Sankara, yeah?
Yes.
Let's talk about political coalitions in our country. Is there any benefit? Is there any way we can actually benefit from these coalitions, right? And is there a way that these coalitions can actually stop spewing ethnic divisions? Because that's what it seems like for now.
Well, politics is local. And before I get to that, let me tell you something, that we as the people of Kenya, we are responsible for everything that happens in this country. Because pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution, Article 1.1, the sovereign power belongs to the people. The people shall, or the people may. When we shall, it is constitutionally mandatory. May is optional. So if we go to the ballot, today I would tell you, as you know, I've been an advocate of good governance. If I go and decide to contest against some rogue gold scandal mogul from the city, the people will elect the gold scandalist and leave me. They will ask you, what do you have? So commercialization of politics is our most undoing. We are better at writing lamentations, and no one is speaking about Exodus. Where are we? We need to move.
I like that.
We need to start the journey.
Yeah.
We need to stop the lamentations, because if we are talking of Didmas Barasa, being an MP who has been allegedly accused of shooting someone, who elected Didmas Barasa, he was not self-elected. He was elected by people.
Correct.
So our leaders are a replica of who we are.
It's a mirror effect.
Actually, if you hear most of the Kenyans speaking, and that's why I'm an activist, but I'm very mad at some of the vocal activists we have around. Most of them are conmen. They're not here to ground any meaningful change. Actually, there are people who oppose the government not because they like opposing the government. They oppose the government merely because they are on the other side of the table. I would tell you, I've interacted with them. A few young people are principled, people whom you can actually believe in what they are doing. Someone like Joshua Okayo is fighting for change genuinely. Morara, let these other noise makers who are agendaless, they are just there to incite and evoke emotions, but they are not offering any solutions. So as young people, we must take responsibility of our actions and utterances. On the political formations being a challenge to this country, not unless we understand why we go to the ballot. Even if we bring world-leading philosophers to come and preach to us about governance, we shall never move forward unless we know that that power we donate to politicians is not to praise them over simple things that are constitutionally mandated by them to deliver. Why would I praise a politician for making a road that is a product of an appropriation of parliament, that is a product of a budget making process? So not unless we understand exactly what is the role of an MP. Some people think an MP is there to attend funerals and speak ill about possible opponents. No, an MP has got 3 constitutional roles: oversight, putting into checks and balances the executive and other arms of government; legislation, formulating realistic laws that conform to the realities of today; and representation. You can only represent the people in parliament. For example, I come from Kisumu East constituency. During the finance bill contention, my MP, Mr. Shakil Shabir, was out of the country. When he came back, he went to protest at the airport. He was carrying a placard, "I reject finance bill," while knowing very well that his rejection is only validated by either yes or no. Where? In parliament. So we really need to understand what it is that leaders are supposed to do. Some of us are burdening leaders with things that do not really concern them. You make your wife pregnant, then you start bothering your politician that
Hold right there. Let me.
I need pampers.
Let me say something. Let me say something. By the way, guys, if you're tuning into this show, Vibes and Spice, Power Players is going down right now, and we have the one and only Advice Mundalo. He's the Jubilee Youth League chair, and then we have Kennedy Sankara, governance expert and political analyst. We're talking about, the state of the nation, coming of age under the Raila Ruto shadow, and of course, whatever's going on in the country right now, the whole revolutionary phase, the people who are actually saying, nah, Raila let down young people, Raila, nah, you're the new Kalonzo, all those things. Ten.
Yes, I'm listening to this conversation, and one interesting thing that comes across is that we are at a point whereby Kenyans, we ourselves, are mostly to blame for whatever is going on in the state of the nation right now. And now it gets me to think about procedural laws, and especially our recalling laws in the country. Do you guys think perhaps it's a time whereby we are supposed to talk more about enforcement and even more implementation when it comes to these laws of recall? Because if you do remember when the whole revolution, quote unquote, started, we had people actually vouching for the recalling of some members of parliament.
Quite a number,
Yeah. My thinking would be this. Yes, we have a provision in law that we can actually recall members of parliament, even the governor, that we feel as a people, because again, sovereignty is with us. But which one is easier, to recall or to vote right? Which one is the shorter end of the stick? Because we cannot commit ourselves to mistakes because we will have a solution. The process, even constitutionally, of recalling, I can assure you, is quite tedious. It's very, very cumbersome. It's plausible, but very cumbersome.
It's not even complete as of today. Recalling an MP is quite tedious. It's not tedious. Complete.
So that's what I'm saying. Where we need to get it right, we need to get it right from the beginning. The idea of wanting to start wrong and finish right is like starting from the bottom to button your shirts, and then you skip the first hole, and you imagine that because the rest of the buttons you have gotten them right, you'll get it right at the top. It will not work. We must be able to get it right from the beginning. And there's something fundamental that Sankara mentioned about civil society organizations. We must also be careful as a country not to be led into anger that is not generated by us. Because sometimes we have civil society organizations whose interest is not good governance. Their interest is that is their buttered bread. They are actually at work. They have woken up to go to work.
Exactly.
The way Kev has woken up to come to SpiceFM.
Yes.
So these people wake up every morning to destabilize governments for their relevance. So they will go and generate an anger and donate it to us. And then we'll bite the anger that is not self-generated. And then we'll keep fighting a war whose end game we do not understand. So that aspect of civil society, I can assure you, we have civil society, and many of them, I would dare say over 90%, of the civil society things we see here in town and saying activists and good governance and whatever, you'd ask yourself, what essentially is this about civil society that only speaks about things going wrong and not going right? Because it can't be that since independence nothing goes right. At least there must be something that has ever gone right. And in equal space, it's only in the spirit of fairness that when you are able to agitate that this was wrong, when it gets right, you must also speak in equal the voice.
So let me ask
and
you,
say that this was
do you
right.
think the country is headed in the right direction?
It is. I could be able to say that in terms of how things are today, part of my biggest worry today is that I don't think we have learned our lessons enough, because I still believe that this country will still vote basing on two things that are very weird. One of those things is sensationalization. Just mere sensationalization and someone coming with a lot of money and all that. And we mostly vote against, we don't vote for. And so it's always a smear campaign when, for as long as we point and say Sankara is bad, anything else not Sankara, that's the better one. And two, drama. As it stands today, let me ask you, there have been several, you've been in the political space, you've been a journalist, you've been able to see many people in this space as young people. I'll want to dare you that when you put, for instance, Sankara and, let me use Kasmuel, for instance. Sankara and Kasmuel in one constituency, who is more likely to win the election?
That's a good question. Wow.
And then the question is why?
And where?
Because that's my question. Sankara and Kasmuel today in an election, we in this country, we the young people, who is more likely to win the election?
I think
I don't think you are sure.
Kasmuel.
And then the question is why?
Because his
popularity.
He's popular. He's been on our screens.
Good.
Yeah, he's been.
So is that governance?
That's not exactly. It's not. It's
So
not.
you can be able to see.
To solve the solution.
You can be able to see where we are going.
Correct.
We still are able. We don't want to take time, reason, analyze, talk about the real issues, who exactly is providing the real solution. It's now about sensationalized stuff, who can be able to trend more, who can be able to have a better swag, who can be able, we are not interrogating leadership. And that's what I've said, this country is not in need of drama, this country is not in need of sensationalization, this country is in need of leadership. I have always been one of the few people who dares to say the country is not in need of young people.
What is it in need of?
Is in need of leaders.
Competent leaders.
Competent leaders. Trust me. If you have a competent leader, the young people will be safe. If you have a competent leader, the women will be safe.
Let me hold it right there.
Just
Let me ask you something, Sankara. The conversation right now, of course, among young Kenyans.
Let me just clarify to him.
Very briefly.
I'll beat Kasmuel.
I think so too.
I will beat him because I know why.
I think so. I feel like Kasmuel right now is going through a moment. I don't think it's going to last forever.
No, it's a product of his own making.
Fine, it's fine. I mean, depends on how you see it. Anyway, so Sankara, let me ask you.
Yes.
Many guys are like, we need alternative leadership. And I'm a believer of that as well.
Sure.
Competent leadership. Like my brother here, advice says, Is there any serious young Kenyans out there who you think, and you look at them and you're like, this is the guy. This is the guy who's going to be our Obama. Any young Kenyan, it doesn't even have to be even, whatever, not even young, just any Kenyan out there who you think is serious enough to take down a coalition between Ruto and Raila in 2027?
I think I'm one of those young people.
I like
asking.
that. You had to, you get.
Yeah, why would I see some?
Okay.
I know myself well, but there are such young people.
Yeah.
I think the reasons why I brought in the aspect of activism, I was seeking to respond to that question in a way. We've confused positive activism and negative activism. I'm not here to say that there's a particular way of supporting the government. If the government is failing or is likely to fail, it is failing. There is no any other better term we are going to use. But we must interrogate the personality and character of people who are actually calling the government to order. Because providing a solution and agitating against a problem are two different things.
100%.
Just identifying a problem, whining about it, and providing no solution is in fact creating more troubles. People like us,
we're on the same WhatsApp group.
People like us will get pressure.
Yeah.
I can even inflate 10 tires of a trailer.
Yo,
But
I'm
if you
with
give
you.
me a solution,
Yeah.
I feel a little bit relaxed. So this is what we need to advocate for. We need to point out challenges and provide solutions.
100%.
At times, we have to make very painful decisions. If I say, people compare our country to developed countries like China, Singapore, Japan. There is one critical aspect we are leaving out,
which is
ethics. In those countries,
and meritocracy.
In Kenya, we don't reward people because they are qualified.
True.
Meritocracy is a paperwork. We award people on the proximity to power.
Loyalty.
So, and loyalty, fidelity. Kajwang will tell you, loyalty to the party. Fidelity is paramount.
Mapambano.
Bado mapambano. But does that seek to solve leadership and governance?
Hell no.
So, what if we just act mad today? I know it contravenes international laws. Let us hang the first 100 thieves to set an example to the upcoming thieves that this is the direction we are going to take.
Let me ask you, Sankara.
Yes.
Juzi, like I think about 2 weeks ago, former interior, this is alleged by the way, former interior minister Matiang'i allegedly he's hired a Canadian lobbying firm for 2027 presidency. Should we take him seriously? Is this the guy who's going to take us, is this the guy who's going to change our fortunes as a country? Because I mean, he did a good job when he was a CS.
But
his name is suddenly now coming up.
I will give Caesar what belongs to the Caesar. I will give credit where it is due and criticize when it is necessary. Matiang'i was a good bad leader. Under Matiang'i's leadership, we saw the gate of Railas being opened. We never got accountability on who was responsible. So as we vote for Matiang'i, we don't want the error. Things we are seeing today, they started happening under the reign of Matiang'i. Matiang'i is a man who do not believe in controversy or difference in opinion. He tells you this is what you are supposed to do. You have to do it.
He was just taking orders maybe.
No. But as a leader, by the way, I would tell you, as a leader, don't come to claim or blame somebody that you are being ordered. That is why we possess the 5 senses. If it doesn't marry with yours, you ship out. Resignation is a constitutional provision. Evoke it. If I'm being given unconstitutional orders, orders that breach the right to human life, as a leader of integrity, all I have to do is to distance myself from it. But again, look at the country we are in. We are still watching case files and wherever
you're hilarious.
of our leader who was murdered somewhere in 1964.
Let me ask Mundalo something. Advice.
Yes.
Obviously, Aki, last time we had this conversation, there was still like a small debate between myself and Mundalo about now which one is the real Jubilee. But let me focus on.
I was telling him.
You know what I mean?
I don't know where it's coming from.
Yes, I don't know who you're speaking for. There's obviously those guys who are aligned to Kina Nani, the Secretary General.
Sabina Chege.
Wait, respectfully. The other guys for Nini, for Sec General, Nani. What's his name again?
Kioni.
Yeah. And then of course now the one for Kina Sabina Chege.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, but let me just focus on you, your truth. Let me focus on your truth. Now, you're affiliated to the government, you're supporting government. Gachagua has been having serious internal opposition within the KK coalition. And I don't want to talk about the details, but I'm actually concerned, because, I mean, when will a deputy president in our country just have peace of mind?
It has become a trend, but
it's crazy, bro. That city is just cursed. Anyway, now, if Gachagua decides to actually step out of this government come 2027, right, and probably decide to work with whoever, endorse whoever, are we going to say, because he's clear, I feel like he's also now I think he's the official political leader of Central, of the mountain. Yeah, he's not the king, but he's the guy there. Is it safe to say Gachagua could actually end up being a kingmaker?
First of all, I do not.
If he steps out,
I don't really agree with the analogy that there is any serious rift in government between the deputy president and the president.
I mean, you even
For
had
this reason-
former, what was that guy's name? Malala. There's people who want to take out Gachagua.
He
or
actually
from-
even mentioned them by name.
Yeah, he mentioned them by name. Yeah, so
Remember,
yeah,
remember Malala is a person who was Secretary General, who was ousted. He definitely must come up with an explanation because he's a politician. He must be able to appease whoever he wants to appease. Because for me, I look at the relationship between the deputy president and the president. I saw them naming cabinet together. I saw them in the, I think was it in Kakamega together. I see them moving around together. So
They launched Raila together today.
today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I fail to agree that there is anything serious. What I would tell you is that, especially coming from the political party perspective, and every time where there are political big players, the people below them will always create a rift, so that then that way they can be relevant.
I agree.
So sometimes it's not the bosses at the top who have a problem. It is the people at the bottom who must create a problem just because there needs to be relevance. There will be political careers that will come to an end just because Raila Odinga and President William Ruto have now a working cooperation. There is a political career that will come to an end. There is someone who must struggle very hard to create an explanation and a perspective to make it look like. Soon you'll hear people saying Ruto is conning us. Some you'll hear others saying Raila is shortchanging us, because those people's political relevance is pegged on that. And that is where the problem usually comes in. When you talk about there is a question you asked about, are there young people that are really doing the right thing? And I want to tell you that
Are they young leaders? Are they young?
They are actually
not even
very
young,
many.
just Kenyans themselves. Are
There
there
are-
serious guys out here who can
There are
actually
very-
match Ruto?
There are very many. The problem is this.
Yeah.
First of all, we have created a media culture in Kenya where the story is about the man biting the dog. And so most of the people who are doing the right thing are not a story. When you look at Murang'a County, I was talking to the deputy governor of Murang'a County, I think 2 weeks ago. I don't know whether you know him. He's the
See,
youngest.
he was
youngest
he was
deputy
getting
governor.
married.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a wedding.
Yes. He's the youngest deputy governor we have in the Republic
Yeah,
of
I
Kenya.
can tell.
He is a young man. And part of what they have been able to do together with Governor Irungu Kang'ata is to create 15,000 jobs. 15,000 jobs for young people, and you're talking about a county that's quite huge, from every ward. And taking it step by step to legislation, to creating until it's a whole policy. It's a policy framework that is able to absorb young people, train them on vocational training, and give them money to start up business, and the county is the buyer of the product of the business. It is a whole system. It's an ecosystem, and I thought that was very profound. And I was happy to hear the governor himself talk positively about this and accredit it to his deputy, because most of our leaders they don't accredit the work of young people. So we have people like those. We have I can be able to tell you of several young members of parliament who are actually doing the right thing. But again, we have created a culture where the story is about the man biting the dog.
Okay.
So we also have to have the right narrative. That's why you talked about Matiang'i, and Sankara was about a bit liberal, I think maybe because of the formula of which you asked him. Because in your question,
How would you frame it?
You imposed to him that Matiang'i is doing a very good job.
Yeah.
He had a hard time saying the opposite. Because when I look at it, and with all due respect, and I appreciate the work that he was able to do, but my problem is that most of the reason why we think Matiang'i, in my view, is dramatic. We must be able to let's not start a wrong culture where people think good leadership is about how much abrasive and dismissive
And rough you are to
to
subordinates.
your subordinates. Kev, it's not about how we are your guests together with Sankara. If your boss comes here to start lecturing you in front of us
Aggressively.
That doesn't make him a good boss.
Does it
That's
make
true.
him a good boss?
Z.
Yeah? So that is the problem. And we must also make people understand that leadership, and the proper leadership, is a virtue. It is something you must carry within you and just
that.
do it
Yeah,
without
man.
necessarily anybody seeing it. It must not be seen.
Humility.
Yeah. But now the issue is, and that's why we are now having a culture where anybody doing anything wants to record it. Yeah.
And
Anybody,
also
and then we judge
to
the
add
leader,
on what you
we
are
judge
saying.
someone using a 2 minutes clip and say, wow, such a good leader. 2 minutes clip.
To add on what you are saying,
Yeah.
Very
Matiang'i's
briefly.
style of leadership
Yeah.
did not seek to empower institutions, rather to build
An
individual and furia
Okay.
against a particular leader.
Yeah.
You know, developing fear for a particular leader would only make you deliver for a particular period of time.
Yeah, it's true.
But
Or look like
empowering
you're delivering.
institutions.
Yeah.
I want an institution that lives past Matiang'i.
Yeah.
If Matiang'i had really done something worth mentioning, we should be seeing the results today. He had built the capacity from within,
Yeah.
conceptualize upon the subordinates that this is the right thing to be
Something
done.
innovative.
Under
Yeah.
pressure or without pressure,
Yeah.
this is the right thing to do.
I like that.
So we have countries in Africa that are not doing well because citizens are actually very supportive and innovative. They're doing well because they've developed furia
Yeah.
for some leaders. When those leaders collapse, all systems
country-
go.
Oh, exactly.
So,
goes down.
are we going to build such systems by supporting people like Matiang'i?
No.
I will always give credit where it is necessary.
Yeah.
We've seen doctors stealing exams to kill patients in hospital. When Matiang'i stood up, I was one of their students, and I think I'm good enough.
But let me cut you short. Did you see what was happening today?
Yes.
Wale were the students
You
for
and-
medicine.
Yes.
Jesus.
So, if we have to build a culture
Yeah.
where you want to get a degree, present a paper that you are qualified, yet you are a thief, what do you expect in the ministry we are going to post you?
That's so
are we
true.
going to build an individual who is a
Nah.
thief?
But let me ask you something now, Sankara.
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka. I'm reading something on his X. He says, yes, I'm ready to be the leader of the official opposition. This is a team. I can also see Babu Wino as part of that team. There's Eugene Omalwa, Jeremiah Kioni, a bunch of guys over there. So he also said, you will see the opposition like never before. We might be light in numbers in parliament, but outside we have the people of Kenya. Should Kalonzo be taken seriously? And does he have what it
Kalonzo-
takes to lead the opposition to State House?
Kalonzo is a politically punctured character.
Hey, you guy, that's intense, man.
Yeah, I would
Bro.
tell you for a fact.
Yeah, you're just talking about humility, but you're
I
not even
know.
humble.
I'm humble.
What the hell?
I'm humble. My only
What?
problem.
Are you just saying things to
My
trend?
only problem is I don't
What?
know how to call
Yeah.
a spade a small
Oh my
spoon.
God, you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
in the sense of actually, it's only good that I said Kalonzo is politically
It's true.
punctured.
Yeah.
The reason
What does
why
that even mean?
have you been involved in I believe you've
course.
driven a car, you have a good
course,
machine.
of course.
So have you developed puncher somewhere? Of
course.
So you may have a good machine, which is the body of Kalonzo Musyoka. But
You
the engine,
guy.
The engine.
You can't
the engine,
move.
The engine is spoiled.
You
Because
guy.
the engine are the people is oscillating around.
Yeah.
So these are people who gave up to fate some time back. They decided to say, okay, in fact, even in that statement alone, they are giving up already. They are saying, we have the people. Since
Yeah.
when did they lose the people? Kalonzo should just build the culture of trustworthiness.
Okay.
The guy the other time said he was
God.
he was going to be the most stupid person to support for the third time a presidential candidate without any signs of reciprocity.
Yeah.
I don't know when did Raila reciprocate for him to,
Yeah.
So, Kalonzo, that is what we call leadership. What do we know you for?
Okay.
People like myself know Kalonzo as a man I can nearly trust. He would tell me, I am going to run for presidency today. Tomorrow he goes, like today, he's saying he's the opposition leader. Tomorrow you see him wearing a Sheikh
I know,
uniform,
man.
taking supper
You
with
get a
William.
crazy joke I had that kuna mtu alikuwa anasema, watch out
About Kalonzo.
ati wacha Kalonzo ite maandamano, we see who's gonna come out.
So,
Anyway, yeah.
on Kalonzo, I think they are giving room. We
Yeah.
are people like us, by the way.
Yeah.
We are the ones going to build a serious, robust opposition.
So who are people
Opposition-
like you?
People like us are people who have everything to achieve and nothing to lose.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the Gen
So
Zs, the
people
young
like
Kenyans.
Kalonzo have a lot to lose. These are, I said government is older than most of us. The people you see around Kalonzo are people with government files stored in safes.
Yeah, they've been around.
When I
man.
say government files, they are definitely dirty files. So for me, I've never robbed anyone. If
So-
I
so-
decide to put the government to checks and balances today,
Yeah.
I dare them bring any fraudulent case against me.
I see we're
That's
running
not-
out of time, gentlemen. It's 6 minutes after 9. We're about to get into a fire mix, just for the record. That is by DJ 10. It's an after hours mix. But I want to finish with 2 questions. Number one, and let's keep it brief here.
Yeah.
Okay.
On one hand, advice, there is the broad-based government. There's Kalonzo also on this other side. There's Jimmy Wanjigi. And then, of course, there's the Gen Z movement. You know, my auntie yesterday, Juicy was telling me, no, Kevin, it's not even Gen Z anymore, it's Gen Zorte. We're all in this together. It's a mind frame now. I'm like, okay, sir, that actually makes sense. But right now, in this very moment, bro, you know, one thing I like about this show compared to other shows in this platform of ours, it's very young, it's very radical. We can actually speculate.
Speculation is allowed.
Yeah, you know, we want to look at things differently. I've given you this. I've told you there's the broad-based government. There's Kalonzo on one side. There's Jimmy Wanjigi, and then of course there's the Gen Z guys. Yeah. If things remain as they are right now, Mundalo, what do you think is going on in the mind of the Kenyan voter?
I think in the mind of the Kenyan voter, finally, the Kenyan voter has felt hopeless in terms of after going to the streets and everyone coalescing around the same thing. We have had a lot of people feeling like, did our voice not matter at all? And again, the Kenyan voter, remember, has always not made sure everyone is to blame except them, as I told you in the beginning. So that is, of course, what is going on in their minds. And if you ask me, it is the wrong thing to be going on in their minds. What should be going on in their minds is that, how do we make things work? I don't come from the school of thought where we give up and then we wait for a better tomorrow. Because as we give up tomorrow, we will be paying taxes again. So government must deliver for the people now. It's not about being speculative. We cannot. So that's why I constantly advocate for the very right ways of following up issues. For instance, when Kalonzo says he's now the leader of the opposition, that is political optics. The country's leader of opposition is the minority leader. That is the reality of our constitution.
It's true.
If as a people we come out, we must be able to be pushing that person to do their work. And to me, that is better impact than this political optics where everyone wakes up and says, I am the leader of whatever, another one says, I'm the leader. So people, we are just building popular people and feeding their ego. But at the end of the day, they have no impact on us because they have no legitimate. Which office does Kalonzo hold? We have someone who is called the minority leader in this country. That minority leader receives a government salary. That minority leader is facilitated by your taxes to perform and oversight government for you. What we should be doing is pushing that person to do their work, is enhancing the capacity of that person. For me, it would make sense if Kina Kalonzo and all these people were coming out and placing the minority leader and saying we are now tasking you that this work must be done.
Evokes political goodwill.
Yeah, they must evoke political goodwill and say, you are the minority leader. We want to tell you that we are behind you and want to ensure that you deliver. But will they do that? They will not, because this is purely politics and everyone, Kev, is looking for milestone. When you look at that, those people up there and doing those conversations, those are politicians who are looking for a milestone. And as I finish, I just want to, because you mentioned something about Jubilee, it's important I say that record straight.
Please clarify for Kenyans.
It's important I say that
very briefly.
That record straight. The Jubilee Party does not have any what you would call the factions. You have always seen Honorable Jeremiah Kioni on the other side with the Azimio people. I would want to dare ask you whether you've ever seen him with anyone else. There is no one else. So that is just a person. The whole of Jubilee Party, whole of Jubilee Party, which I represent, is gazetted. I am the Jubilee Party National Youth Chair, not because I declared myself on the street, but because I am gazetted by the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, and all members of Parliament under Jubilee subscribe to us. And we were the first party that came out of Azimio. So Jubilee left Azimio a long time ago, and Jubilee is not in Kenya Kwanza, as you allude. Jubilee is the third parliamentary party of the Republic of Kenya. As it stands today, we have Kenya Kwanza as number one, we have Azimio, and we have Jubilee.
Yeah, but you're a supporter.
Yes.
So why haven't you charged
in the Kenya Kwanza ideology
for using your party emblems and etc. unconstitutionally?
Political parties, you and me would understand that marketing is not a problem. That is why in one political party, you can have 10 people coming up, and I'm sure you've seen those on your shows. They come and tell you they are the youth chair of whatever.
So we're running out of time.
Even me, when someone wakes up tomorrow and says he's the youth chair of Jubilee,
Ken, let me ask you.
Because it markets the party.
Ken, let me ask you. And
I'm not satisfied by his response.
But we're running out of
let
time.
me just
Let me ask you. Should
Yeah.
Kenyans give Ruto more time
to do what?
to deliver on his
What
promises?
has he delivered
Especially
for
now
the
that
longest time?
he's delivered to us a broad-based government. Now maybe this is what
was
will
that
liberate
one
us.
of his campaign
The
manifestos?
constitution has given him 5 years.
Ruto, actually, Ruto needs no time.
Yeah.
What he needs, we are not interfering with these constitutional term limits. The only story he should not think of is creating, the focus now. And I believe the president is a typical politician. He is not a leader.
Yeah.
There are people who are concerned with the next election as opposed to the next generation. The time we've given him is enough.
Yeah.
Kibaki was a president. It was so realistic. I never saw in my time. I loved the 10th parliament.
Yeah.
This is a parliament I would walk from primary school and sit and listen to on radio Marende moving motions. Kibaki would ask parliamentarians in their events, you are talking of a road to be stretched from this place to that place. Did you pass it in the budget? But here we have a president who will tell you, na next week,
Roadside declarations.
tumetenga bilioni 100. I was in this campaign and the guy has already tendered all the treasury allocations. So we really need to ask ourselves, if you have to explain to people what you are doing, bro, you are doing nothing. Just let your actions speak for themselves. So the president, I think he needs time to finish up and not go. Finish up and account for what he has done. The culture of finishing up and going is not something that is going to provide leadership for this country. I would advise the current sitting politicians to, in fact, ensure that Committee Maximum Prison is renovated. The environment is bearable, because that is their next home. We are not going to let people walk out of power and say I was the minister after looting, being an overnight billionaire. We want you to account for what you did when you were there. So we will give President time, but we will give him headache as he enjoys his time. We will ensure that he does the right thing, because the use of bullets and guns would not scare a determined mind ready for change.
Correct.
We must not subject the country into a military organized junta, a military state, where Sankara cannot speak on SpiceFM and walk freely on Mombasa Road. He will be kidnapped. These things happened under Matiang'i. These things are happening under the current minister.
This government.
Yes. So we really have to ensure that Article 26 of the Constitution is respected. The right to life is not a mere political pronouncement. It's a constitutional right. So everyone's right must be protected. Why would we chase thieves in the streets and protect some thieves using government resources? I am collecting taxes or paying taxes in Kenya shillings. Then son to a politician is spending in US dollars. He sees no opportunity in spending in Kenya shillings. This is someone who has done nothing for this country. Their parents were just born and they found themselves in
Kennedy, I have
leadership.
to cut you short.
No,
I have to cut you short.
we have to fight because I have to protest. Protest is
Kennedy, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I think guys have already gotten the point.
but you're not giving him time.
No, I know, but that's what it seems. But I think you made your point.
Yes.
Thank you so much, my guys. We're clearly out here. I feel like we're living in such an important era where, civil conversations like this are really heightened. What a time to be alive. Good job, guys. And keep on doing what you're doing. You're very resourceful to our country. Tutapatana tena huko mbele,
Kabisa.
good job, advice. Good
Thank you
job,
very
Kennedy.
much.
All right. We're going to come back and cruise the internet. And then, ikifika 9:30, we're going to get back into the music, because I know some of you guys want to party. Tuesday birthday in certain areas, it's going down.
Yeah, that's
It's
why
going
they
down.
sang clubbing